Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Leaders of the European Union member states met at an informal summit in the Romanian city of Sibiu, during which they committed themselves to maintaining the cohesion of the Union. According to the summit declaration, the strategy of the European Union is to become a responsible global leader within the next 5 years. Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki spoke about the Polish priorities in terms of European Union reforms.
Pierwsza propozycja to więcej wspólnego rynku.
Our first proposal is to have more of the common market. That in turn means less protectionism. Protectionism lowers the chances of competitiveness within the whole of Europe. Poland is doing very well in a common European market, and we want to allow Polish companies to spread their wings as wide as they can. Our next proposal is to have more democratic procedures. We know very well that the procedures in the EU, especially in the European Commission, are sometimes not understood by the citizens of the European Union. So we need more democratic deficit, more democratic procedures, more contribution from the nation's parliaments. Poland is a signatory of the list of 17 countries of the European Union. Signatories are taking care of the developing of the common market. They are taking care of the competitiveness so that it can grow and not be limited by the protectionist actions taken by some countries, like for instance a directive concerning the delegated employees or the mobility package which touches our transport and construction sector. We don't want to agree on that. We fight for our business position, the position of our employees in the European Union.
Walczymy o pozycję naszego biznesu, naszych pracowników w Unii Europejskiej.
The unemployment rate in Poland has reached a record low since 1990 and is now at 5.9%, the Central Statistical Office reports. The number of people registered as being without work has dropped below the threshold of 1 million and now stands at 939,000. Also, for the first time, unemployment rates across the country are even, and there is no Polish voivodeship with an employment rate above 10%. The highest rate, at 9.7%, is in the Warmian-Mazurian voivodeship, and the lowest, at 3%, is in the Greater Poland voivodeship. 28 days of hell. That is how Iraqi Bishop Saad Shihab Hanna, who survived being held captive by Al-Qaeda, described his experience in his book, Kidnapped in Iraq. As Bishop Hanna recalls, to the words, "You will be a Muslim," he answered with a verse from the Quran, which says that no one can be forced to convert to Islam.
Statistics are alarming. Before 2008, there were over 900,000 Christians in Iraq. Now there are about 200,000 of them. There are also fewer Christians in the entire Valley of Nive and the Holy Land, the cradle of Christianity.
If I deny my faith, I will deny all my history, all my values, all my principles, that for which I lived and for which I was kidnapped also. So I think I never thought of that. Absolutely. I argued with the people who asked me that. I argued on the contrary, explaining that this is not not the will of God. So I justified also my positions to be firm in my faith.
There are also fewer Christians in the entire Valley of Nineveh and the Holy Land, the cradle of Christianity.
It is difficult to imagine the Holy Land without Christians, but it depends on us. For 20 centuries, they were not able to expel us from there. If we allow it now, it will be a bad sign. Poland actively took part in helping Iraq to show how beautiful it was. There was a camp, which is not there anymore. Those people found jobs and stayed there.
The Polish translation of the bishop's book was made on the initiative of the reader Mieczysław Mertin.
It was from a need of my heart. I wanted Christians in Poland to broaden their knowledge about the Church and the Christians who die for their faith every day.
The story of the bishop is an extraordinary testimony of faith.
Iran has sent an ultimatum to the European Union, the United Kingdom, France, Germany and China. The authorities in Tehran threatened that if oil trading is not restored within 60 days, then it will withdraw from the 2015 nuclear accord. This would mean Iran's resumption of the production of highly enriched uranium for military purposes and the ending of its sale of surplus stocks. The European powers have said they remain committed to the Iran nuclear deal, but they reject any ultimatums from Tehran to prevent its collapse.
We sent a message to 4 countries in which we explained what steps Iran would take if they did not meet our expectations. Today, I also announced a reduction in our obligations under the nuclear contract.
In response to Iran's actions, US President Donald Trump issued an implementing regulation in which he imposed sanctions on the export of Iranian metals. The United States wants to put pressure on Iran to end its nuclear program.
We call on the regime to abandon its nuclear ambitions, change its destructive behavior, respect the rights of its people, and return in good faith to the negotiating table.
However, European and Chinese leaders are ready to give in to Iran's pressure and make concessions to save the agreement of 2015.
We do not agree with the step Iran took today. Our message is and stays clear. Our partners and ourselves stick to the nuclear deal with no cutbacks, and we expect Iran to respect it to all its extent, also without cutbacks. The situation caused by the United States makes it difficult to implement the obligations contained in the agreement with Iran. The contract should be further respected by all parties. China approves the way Iran fulfills its obligations. We strongly oppose the sanctions imposed by the United States.
The cause of the conflict is the agreement between the West and Iran, according to which Tehran abandoned its nuclear ambitions in exchange for investments, the abolition of sanctions and economic cooperation. Donald Trump withdrew the United States from the contract a year ago and introduced serious restrictions, including companies from countries that decided to continue working with Tehran.
That's it from the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, business and more programs. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.
Welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Tonight's temperatures will vary from 4 degrees in the eastern parts of the country in Białystok, Lublin, as well as lower in Rzeszów, and up to 11 degrees in Poznań. 10 degrees will be seen in the area of Wrocław, Zielona Góra, Szczecin, as well as in Koszalin. Now let's check the forecast for tomorrow in Poland. So nice and sunny all over the country. The most clouds will be appearing in the area of Olsztyn. The maximum temperature tomorrow will be 17 degrees in Wrocław as well as in Zielona Góra, and the minimum will be 13 degrees in the northern parts of Poland, also in the northeast in Białystok. This is all for tonight. Thank you.
This is Poland Daily Business today. Our topic will be the judiciary system in Poland, and we are fortunate to have Judge Leszek Mazur, Chairman of the National Council of the Judiciary. Sir, welcome to the show.
Good day.
Let us start from the famous in the world, because he has been advertised or very wide reach. The information is about the changes in Polish judiciary system. Why the country needed these changes?
Well, it needed and it still needs, and the reasons for to undertake the reforms are quite obvious. The system has proved to be inefficient, and because it is inefficient, the consequence of this is distrust of population in relation to courts, to the whole system of judiciary. The number of judges in Poland exceeds 11,000, I think, and only one state in Europe has the higher number of judges, namely Germany. which is a powerful state.
Germany is twice the size of Poland.
Yes, that's right, and therefore there is practically no way to improve the efficiency of the system, increasing the number of judges. The procedures must be changed, and the whole system that heightens the efficiency of the system. And besides, the system is also inefficient in this respect, that it is very costly. The expenditure on the judiciary is about 1.77%. So big money is being spent on judiciary, and the result is not satisfactory for people.
1.77% of the state budget.
Yes, gross national product or budget. Yes.
Is budget more, but we are there. There are also some political implications. Some people say that the system has not been changed since the 1980s, when the country was ruled effectively by the military junta and Communist Party. Practically every aspect of life in Poland changed since then, except judiciary. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes, I must agree, because we cannot show the borderline that divides the past and the present, and we can't show this frontier. We can't show this point in time where we have said goodbye to the past and created quite a new judiciary. And I can give two examples supporting this point. In the Supreme Court, there are still judges whose career started in the time of the martial law in 1980s. And the second fact is that after post-war period, when we had this uprising, because this was a kind of uprising in the years 1945, 1950. The courts in Poland gave about 8,000 death punishments against the participants of this uprising. 5,000 of them were executed. And as a matter of fact, we have no, there was no general bringing these people to responsibility. And this is one of the sources of mistrust.
For those who are not very fluent in the history of Poland, we had no continuity between 1980s, 1920s and 1930s, the democratic country with Western values. The judges who were serving then very rarely were serving after 1945, when Poland was invaded or liberated by Soviets. And basically the new government, the new regime built their own judicial system based on loyalty to the Communist Party.
Yes, the disruption with the Second Republic, as we can say, was obvious. But the disruption with the Third, as we can name it, Republic, was not obvious. As a matter of fact, we lack it till today. And this is one, I repeat, this is one of reasons, one sources of mistrust. And the ratio of this mistrust is about 70 to 80% of the population. It needs no explanation to say that such judiciary system, which has not the trust of people, which is not held this cannot be a sound part of
in your
state
opinion,
structure.
How to change the system from the one that is not enjoying the trust of the population to the one that will perform its duties in a efficient and just manner?
Well, this is not an easy task. It is the reforms are vast, but I would like to point to one thing: the change in procedures of appointment and promotion of judges. The creation of the National Council in the new manner, namely giving the Polish Parliament the right to select, to choose the 15 judge members of the Council, means restoring of a control function of the Parliament.
Because the members of parliaments are elected by
the nation,
popular vote, and the judges were electing themselves from their own
In the Constitution, we have the provision stating that the supreme power belongs to the nation, and the nation rules through Parliament. If Parliament can elect part of the National Council, means that this control function of the Parliament is restored.
This is a very important remark. Judge Mazur, thank you very much for this quick conversation. And that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business. Follow the changes of the Polish judiciary system, because it is changing to the better, as many people point out.
Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Tomorrow, the maximum temperatures seen in Poland will be 17 degrees in Lower Silesia, around Zielona Góra and Wrocław. Also 16 degrees will be seen in Katowice and Krakow. Very nice and sunny tomorrow, almost all over the country. We aren't expecting any rain. The minimum temperature tomorrow will be 13 degrees around Gdańsk, Olsztyn, as well as in Białystok. Now let's check the forecast in Europe for tomorrow. So quite a bit of sun will be seen in Warsaw, also around Rome and the Athens, where 25 degrees will be seen, 26 degrees in Madrid and 22 in Lisbon. The coolest area will be the area of Oslo, Norway, with 9 degrees Celsius. This is all for tonight. Thank you.
Welcome to Poland Daily Culture.
I'm Paulina Otterstein.
And I'm John Carter.
And today we're in Opatów in a beautiful Gothic castle.
And in today's episode, Paula's going to be speaking to an expert in Opatów Castle. I'm going to be taking you around the museum to see the sights and around the garden and the surrounding area. So join us as we take you on a little adventure around this historic place. Ooh, beautiful day, eh?
Yeah, and the birds are singing.
Ooh, flying overhead as well.
Yeah.
So, lovely guest house over there.
Mm-hmm. One can actually rent out rooms there to sleep. So, if you maybe have some free time to come here, you can sleep in them.
Wow, great idea. Yeah. So, first impressions of the castle.
Well, the fact that it's actually almost kept as it was in the 15th century makes it really special, I think. And plus, it's a beautiful place.
Really is, very impressive. I have to say, I like the way they've got the sort of the moat going round, because as I've heard before, that originally it was sort of set up before it was owned by the Oporowski family, and they built it. It was a sort of defensive kind of fort before, so you'd have this moat. I guess they built it afterwards for something, just for show. You can kind of see around the corner as well. They've got those the lions set up there.
Yeah, the park is really special as well.
very kind of neo-Renaissance type setup with the sort of the animals, etc. And you kind of have the lines of trees going through the gardens as well. Yeah, funny.
And have you been inside?
I have been inside, and yeah, it's quite impressive. You've got the sort of of course now it's a sort of museum, so you have everything kind of set up in a way to show you the kind of old artifacts. And it's interesting for me what you've got several generations of families. So originally you had the Operovskis.
Yeah, but then later other families lived there as well, and throughout all the 500 or 600 years, which is a long time, there were many owners, and I think they mentioned that after the Second World War, so around 1948, it became a museum, which it still is now.
And yeah, and you sort of have the different generations changing, the different families changing the castle to varying degrees, you know. So some had more of a kind, maybe more money or more of a vested interest in changing things. You know, I'm trying to think of the Solwahub family, that kind of Lithuanian treasurer, who he seemed to be the sort of person who was really influencing a lot more. He was the one who expanded the park to a greater degree, and I think ended up...
But the Italian family, I think, who lived here, they took care of the garden.
I think they were the ones who actually did it in the way which, as it looks today. So it hasn't changed dramatically since their time. But yeah, each sort of generation sort of followed the different trends of the time.
And brought something with them.
And brought something different with them, yeah. So I think they were kind of maybe connected with like the nobility from around Europe, influenced by the different fashions, hearing about, you know, what might be going in Germany, Austria, even Italy. Oh, they'd have quite common as well to this region, like central Poland, they'd have the English garden. You've heard of the English gardens? So this is this kind of a classical style. If you just down the road from here, you've got that Ogród Romantyczny Arcadia, which follows this theme as well. But yeah, around here, I was going to say, you've got it. It's very sort of peaceful, apart from the intenseness of the birds.
But that's nature, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's great.
But it's so lovely. I would love to come here one day to even sleep in the little house.
It is. Very reasonably priced, so I hear. So, yeah.
And we're lucky because this year they're celebrating 70 years of existence, the museum. So there's going to be a lot of events going on linked to that.
What type of events are happening then?
I think music concerts and dance performances. Wow. There will also be a new exhibition opening on May 26th or 7th, I think. That's what I've been told.
Great space for that type of thing with the gardens, and I think because it kind of creates a kind of special atmosphere with that. There's not so many places where they really preserve the gardens, and yet at the same time you're quite cut off.
But it's so nice and wild, the park here.
It is at the same time. It's not like this sort of pristine, sort of everything cut back. But at the same time, it's got a sort of element of forest.
Very lovely.
But sort of the human touch and nature is blended together to kind of form this.
I like it a lot. It's a good place, I think, to come for 1 or 2 days to really
appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's also interesting some of the things that they found there as well. You know, you kind of have like the artifacts with, like, they found all the weapons like 100 or so years ago, and you know how they were used, etc.
And so many art pieces and the furniture.
There is, and they all kind of represent those different eras, just as the park represents different eras. You've got it as well with the furniture, you know. So you have one room which is what was it called, like the
Biedermeier.
Biedermeier. Yes, you're a bit of an expert with this Polish interior design.
I still have to study a bit, but actually Biedermeier is from Germany. It came from Germany,
right,
in the 19th century.
But I mean, I think it's the same with many different European countries. They all took influences from their neighbours. And yeah, so you've got the Biedermeier living room in there, and then you've got other elements which are that kind of...
which are a bit older as well, from the 16th and 17th century.
Yeah, and then a little bit older than that is the kind of the neo-Baroque element to it as well. Yeah, so it kind of phase all these different things together in a way, and these different people represented over time. I think, yeah, in the very beginning, you know, these the Oporowski family was, you know, one of the richest families in Poland.
They were.
But as generations passed, it wasn't always the kind of super rich that owned it. It's interesting today that it's, you know, it's out of kind of private hands. But I think, yeah, one of the problems maybe over years is that sometimes when you have that private ownership, that it kind of falls into disrepair and people don't take care of it. But even despite those many owners, fantastically preserved, and even up to this day.
It really looks great.
And it's miraculously survived the war as well, which is an achievement in itself. You know, it was confiscated by the Germans as well. So.
But I think also the new directors of the museum have done a lot of work to keep it like this. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, for sure.
Should we go on a walk?
Let's take a stroll around the garden.
The castle in Oporów was built in the first half of the 15th century and is one of the few castles in Poland preserved in such good condition. It features a medieval knight defensive residence. Through the ages, it was always inhabited, saved against damage and distorting reconstruction, becoming the center of Poland's secular medieval architecture. The castle is situated on an island surrounded by a moat, which originally ran under the drawbridge situated in front of the arched gateway. Its compact layout is concentrated around a quadrangular courtyard, a residential house, two-story tower, and a flanking tower, with a chapel and defensive walls closing the courtyard to the north and east. The layout of the castle interior still remains almost unchanged. The first historical mention of Oporów comes from the second half of the 14th century. Then it was the seat of the Oporowski family, of the Sulima coat of arms, the most prestigious in the Łęczyca lands.
Thank you very much for joining us here at Poland Daily Culture from Oporów Castle. I'm John Carter.
I'm Paulina Otterstein, and don't forget to watch us again and subscribe to our new YouTube channel, Poland Daily Live. See you soon.
The 3rd of May, 1791. A day like any other, except it wasn't a day like any other in Poland, because here, in the building behind me, the Royal Castle in Poland, the great Sejm of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth did something incredible. It adopted a new constitution. The agitation for the constitution, the desire for the constitution, had begun with the election of the new king, Stanisław Augustus, at the Convocation Sejm of 1764. How this became necessary, how it was passed, and what it meant for Poland, we'll be finding out in this programme. I'm Nicholas Richardson, and this is Poland Daily History. I'm just leaving St. John's Cathedral here in Warsaw's Old Town. This is the cathedral to which the delegates to the Sejm, which passed the 3rd of May 1791 Constitution, came to give thanks, to sing a Te Deum to God for this marvellous event, this passing of the Constitution, a great event which brought to an end, so they hoped, the chaos which had been Polish governance in the 18th century. And they marched, processed, as you'll recall from the great Matejko painting, from the royal castle behind me, down this street, Świętojanska, and into the cathedral. They were full of optimism. The painting showed us that. They had great hopes for the future. At last, it seemed, Poland was going to enter a new golden age with proper constitutional arrangements, with the nobles under control, with toleration, with new freedoms for the townspeople, and new freedoms, at least a better status for the peasantry. So much optimism, such a great day. They were not to know, as we know, what was going to happen later. But it's important, as we stand here 200 years later, to think how important the Constitution was. Not just because of what happened on that day, but because of what happened after the second and third partitions of Poland, from 1795 until 1918, when Poland again emerged as an independent nation. The idea embodied in the Constitution, the idea embodied in that great painting we saw earlier, kept the Polish spirit alive. One of the many things which kept the Polish spirit alive, and something which is not to be underestimated nor taken for granted. So, the 3rd of May 1791, here on this street in Warsaw, they gave thanks for a great event. We'll find out what happened next. We left the old town as the members of the Sejm had left St. John's Cathedral, full of optimism for the future, with a new constitution, a new beginning. Unfortunately, that new constitution was only in life, only in effect, for essentially 18 months. The Russians ended their wars with the Swedes and the Turks, and Catherine looked at Poland and was astounded and angry that Poland was striking out on its own with a new constitution. This could not be allowed to happen. At the same time, those magnates for whom the restriction of their powers under the new constitution was something they still found unacceptable, an opportunity to appeal to Catherine for help. Together, they formed the Targowica Confederation and asked Catherine to come to their aid and do something. And what Catherine did, of course, with a large Russian army, was to invade Poland in the war of 1792 in defense of the Constitution. Unfortunately, Poland could not effectively respond. The Sejm immediately passed a law for an army of 100,000 people. Unfortunately, they could only manage 37,000. And although the army fought bravely, and under Kościuszko and under Józef Poniatowski, they won a number of victories, it was to no avail. By July 1792, the Russian armies were on the outskirts of Warsaw. It became clear to the king that there was no option but to come to an agreement, eventually to accept that there was no more fighting to be done. And on the 24th of July 1792, as required by Empress Catherine, the king joined the Targowica Confederation. This was something which many people found impossible to believe. But the Polish army disintegrated, and that essentially brought to an end that phase of Poland's life. The king, having joined the Targowica Confederation, many supporters felt the game was up. They went into self-imposed exile. But the king, although he had not been able to save Poland, nor had the Targowica Confederation, and much to everybody's surprise, or their surprise at least, the Sejm at Grodno, which some people consider to be not a valid Sejm, enacted what became the Second Partition of Poland. Then, under this partition, 1792, Poland lost a further 300,000 square kilometres of territory. 250,000 went to Russia, 50,000 went to Prussia, leaving a rump state of only 215,000 square kilometres. An amazing and very sad occurrence. That this, finally, Poland, with so much hope and optimism at the time of the passing of the 3rd of May Constitution, had, within 2 short years, been reduced to a rump state at the mercy of its neighbours. And of course it's worth bearing in mind what was going on in Europe at this time and why Catherine and indeed the Prussians were so anti the Polish constitution. Let's not forget the French Revolution. For many people, these revolutions, these new constitutions, were seen as an attack on the Ancien regime. And there's no doubt that for Catherine, for Prussia, and even for the Habsburgs, revolution in Europe was a dangerous thing. And the idea that there should be this new state of Poland, this newly strong state, with a constitution based on what they saw as revolutionary principles, was just too much to bear. And so 1793 ended with the partition, the Second Partition of Poland. But, of course, the Second Partition of Poland wasn't quite the end. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. And the man who came on this occasion was Tadeusz Kościuszko, hero of the American Revolution, coming to Poland to try one last attempt to save his homeland. On the 24th of March, 1794, in Krakow, he declared what was to become known as the Kościuszko Revolution, or uprising. He sought to save Poland. On the 7th of May of that year, in Połaniec, he issued a declaration freeing the peasants and offering land to all those who fought in his insurrection. He tried hard, fought bravely, but despite victories in April, in Warsaw, Wilno, and the Battle of Rasławicka, ultimately, when Austria and Russia and Prussia joined, the uprising was doomed. Indeed, historians have often thought that it was doomed from the very beginning. But you can crush an army, you can overrun a country, but you can't crush a spirit. And I think that is what the Kościuszko uprising showed. This uncrushed spirit, despite the background of the 2 partitions of Poland, despite the disappointment over the constitution, not having brought the hoped-for golden age. The king, well, he abdicated in 1795 and went back to St. Petersburg, somewhere where he'd been as a young man, as a lover of Catherine the Great. He died 3 years later, in sadness, no doubt, that what had seemed so possible when he became king in 1764, what had seemed so possible on the 3rd of May, 1791, when the Constitution was enacted, had, alas, a few short years later, turned to dust. And what did this mean for the rest of Europe? Of course, this great country, Poland, this great Commonwealth, this great geographical country disappearing, divided cynically between Austria, Prussia and Russia, which became themselves much stronger, had a profound impact on the future history of Europe. Indeed, Germany was to unite, not, as some might have expected, under the Habsburgs, but under the far more militaristic Prussians. And as Russia and Prussia became stronger, more wars were inevitable. France's position all of a sudden became weaker. And thus began a chain of events which led to the outbreak of the First World War. And it's an ill wind that blows no good, because as a result of that, as a result of the disappearance of Poland, the geopolitical changes which brought us the First World War, they also brought us full circle, because at the end of the First World War, in 1918, Poland, after 123 years, re-emerged as an independent country. And while we're talking now about the Constitution of the 3rd of May 1791, which, if we take it as probably we can argue, but we can say that was probably Poland's 3rd constitution, the current constitution of Poland is its 15th, the Constitution of 1997. And it's worth remarking that on the last year, the 100th year celebration of Poland's re-emergence as a state, the President of the Republic of Poland put forward some ideas about reforming the constitution. Interesting to note then that history is alive today in Poland. This great constitutional argument, which gave us so much, promised so much, and in some ways delivered so little, is still alive with us today. And we can reflect on that and what the great achievement it was in 1791, and it is still living with us today, the idea of a constitution and its place in the nation's life.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Poland Daily Travel, where this time we say, head east, young man. We're going in search of Eastern promise to the Białystok region, about 2 hours, give or take a few kilometers, east of Warsaw. This is an area of hidden treasures, castles, palaces, wildlife, and of course, water and the great forests. The Brunitsky Palace in the center of Białystok stands out as a Baroque masterpiece, often compared in its own way to a smaller version of Versailles. Then there is the unmissable little fairy tale town of Tykocin. It lies in bucolic splendor astride the Narew River, with its fine church and synagogue and restored castle. It's an undiscovered Baroque jewel. And so we scratched the surface at least to tempt you to the wonders of this beautiful and wild region of Poland. We know you're going to really enjoy these episodes. So stay tuned as Poland Daily takes you to the Białystok region, the far east of Poland. Visit our Poland Daily Live page and subscribe to all our great programs. Thanks for watching. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of Poland Daily. I'm here with Paula Otterstein and with Łukasz Tatarowski, who owns this place, which is the European Stork
Village.
Village.
Yeah.
Okay, is that sanctioned by, is that the European community involved in that?
Yes.
Yeah, they support you
Yeah.
in your endeavors. I'm just going to read a little bit what it says. Pintovo, that's the name of this place, and it's also a guest house where you can stay. And they have horses, right?
Yes.
Which we're going to see, not just storks.
Not only storks, yeah.
But how many horses do you have?
17.
17
Wow.
horses.
Yeah.
That's great. We're going to look at them later. Pintovo is unique on the European scale. It's a breeding colony of approximately how many storks?
The record?
Well, how many do you have now?
Now, 14.
And the most you ever had?
36.
36.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're less, we were talking about why, we'll come back to that, why there's less and give
Yeah.
you a chance to talk about it. They colonized this area in the mid-90s, so that's
90s,
about 25 years ago or something? 20 some years
20,
ago.
yeah.
20 some years ago. After the hurricane, a hurricane that went through here and demolished many trees. So the trees were broken off and they
Yeah.
built nests because it was useful, right?
Yes.
A useful place. Because storks like to build, as we can see, they like to build on top of light poles and things like that on near houses and stuff like that. Yeah. Let's see what else. You put up special platforms and stuff like that.
There are horse riding tours here as well.
Horse riding tours.
Yeah.
Horse riding tours.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's not just to see the storks, but to see the area.
To see the area, yeah.
Can we ride into Tykocin as well?
Yes.
You go there, and to the next town, Kremusy.
Kirmusy and a whole area next to the Narew River.
which is right here. The Narev
Yes.
is over there.
We have a closer because this old river Narev we have behind of the house.
Right.
But this now the new I can speak
part
in
of
Polish.
the
Starorzecze Narwi. Mamy mamy
The old
pod
part of the
domem.
Narev
Yeah, a
is
smaller
just
part.
close to the house.
I główne koryto Narwi mamy 500 metrów stąd.
Okay, and the main flood is 500 meters from here.
That way.
Yes.
Straight over there. It's sort of running this way.
We can see in the tower when we.
Yeah, we can go over.
Yes.
We're going to go over and see that. So anyway, this is there another place like this? Is there another place like this in Poland?
No, no. In Poland, it is some place, but not looks like that. Yeah. This is only one place in Poland when we have on one farm.
Right.
Because Żywkowo in Mazury, this is a village of people.
Right.
They have a little bit more these storks, but this is in the village, not only one farm.
Yeah, the stork is almost a national bird of Poland, isn't it? In a way, I mean, it's the eagle is the official bird, but in many ways.
But if you see a stork, you think of Poland immediately.
You do, don't you? Yeah. I read somewhere that 25% of the storks in Europe or in the world or something come to Poland.
Yes.
Is that correct? Is it in the world or in Europe?
Europe.
In Europe, 25%.
Yes.
But that's a lot. Where do the storks go elsewhere?
The most stork is in Spain.
Okay, didn't know that. Interesting. I wonder why. Do you know why?
It's closer from Africa.
Because they winter in Africa.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have a good condition to getting their food there. So it's a little bit less road than Poland. Yeah.
Do they eat plants or seeds?
No, they eat mouse, snakes.
Things like this.
Interesting.
Not only frog.
They eat a lot of frogs as well. I saw there was one over here when we came in, and
It's still sitting in there.
yeah, he's still sitting. She is still sitting there. But do the men hunt or the women hunt? Who hunts?
Men.
The men hunt.
Men.
So it must be a man. He had something in his mouth, but would it be some kind of animal, or I couldn't tell, or would he be maybe bringing some grass or something?
Probably, because now they, not all of them, but they sitting on the eggs, yeah, stork woman, and the man must build the nest.
Yeah, man's always got to work hard,
Yeah.
right? Lady's just sitting there. The man has to do all the work every time. I hate that. Nah, well, that's the way
It's
it
the
is.
other way around.
Is it the other way around? That's what the ladies say. The ladies say it's the other way around. But I refer to the example of the stork. At any rate, it's a beautiful bird. What got you so interested to do this? It's a very
Actually,
interesting
the
job.
stork create this place.
You can't manufacture it.
Yeah.
It's a natural development. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Natural development, right? Yeah.
After this hurricane.
After the hurricane. But this was your land and they just came to you?
No, I live when I born here,
Yeah.
and actually I'm the 5th generation
You're the 5th generation
Yeah.
here on this land?
on this land. Yeah.
On this land. So then all the storks started coming. You said, hey, we got a lot of storks.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of storks. Suddenly it was like a gift, right?
Yeah.
And
From
how
nature.
how do you feel about these birds?
Very good. Very good.
Very happy to have
when they leave us to Africa, yeah, it's very quiet here. It's a little bit sad.
Yeah.
And after the spring, before the spring, yeah, we are sitting and waiting for storks.
When
Yeah.
do they usually come? In March?
Yeah. The first stork was here in 24 March.
Okay.
Wow, so that's pretty early.
3 weeks.
Actually, we
Yeah.
can see how it looks on this arrived. Yeah.
Okay, let's go take a walk around and we'll talk some more.
Okay.
And we'll see some actual storks.
Okay.
That's why we're here. And some horses, okay?
And horses. Yeah.
Okay, so more from Łukasz and Pola and me at the stork farm. This is a really nice place. Stay with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As I was saying before, we're going for a walk around the European Stork Center with our guide and the owner of this place, Łukasz
Toczyłowski.
Toczyłowski, just checking. And see if you remember. And
Paulina Otterstein.
Paulina Otterstein.
In case you forgot.
I hadn't forgot yet. What's my name? I forgot.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's confusing, isn't it? Remembering all these names. Let's walk ahead. I wanted to ask you what happens with the storks. Do you get to know them by name? Do they know you? Do the same ones come back and you know it's them?
No, they don't have a name here, but every year we're putting the rings.
Ah, you put a ring on their leg or something?
Yes, on the legs, a young stork.
Okay.
And then we can see if it's coming back or no. We do this for 7 years.
Just tell them you're on television. It's okay.
In 7 years, and actually only back 4 storks.
Okay.
Here.
Only 4?
Only 4 with our rings.
So what the other storks, they hear, there's a stork telegraph, or they call each other and they say, hey, there's a good place in Poland.
Yeah, probably.
I can't make it this year, but my nest is available. Or
yeah,
how do they know?
Probably it's working like that, but...
they have some transmission of messages to each other.
Yes. Actually, the stork going where is the food.
Okay.
So if we have an area when we find a lot of food, there is more possibility.
We'll come here.
Come here.
Yeah, and what kind of food? Why is this a very good food place? I mean, are you feeding them?
No.
You're not, but food is available here.
Yes, yes. On this area next to the Narew, they can find the mouse, snakes.
They're very
popular food here.
Popular food, yeah.
That's the good word. They're abundant.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of them here. Okay. I would just say there's one up here.
Yes.
Look up there. Let's walk over here so we can see. Let's walk back. Okay. Do you know this one? Does it have a marking on it or something?
No.
No?
This is without the rings, without the name, so probably can be the new one.
Oh, look, he says, oh, you're watching me. He's now gonna, that's a man, right? We don't know.
We don't know yet.
The male and the female look similar, right?
Yes, but the man is a little bit bigger. When they're standing in the nest together, you can see who is the man and who is the woman.
But you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking, even though you have experience, a lot of experience, right?
Yeah, probably this is the man.
Yeah.
Because the head is a little bit bigger, yeah.
It's a beautiful bird, isn't it? Okay.
And what's inside there? Some animals that you keep?
We're keeping horses there.
Horses.
That's where all your horses are. Oh, you've got a whole corral. Look over here.